Hello dear comrades, welcome, this is Morgengrad, and we are going to be looking into an epic series of Chinese tournament between Nefris, the Chinese number 3 last year's official Chinese tournament supported by Creative Assembly, and Tlaxtlan Soothsayer, one of the most legendary players in multiplayer arena of Total War Warhammer 1 and Total War Warhammer 2, mostly Total War Warhammer 2. And let's get going with the army compositions and the unit formations. Well, as you see in the yellow team, we've got Nefris going with Chaos, and his army consists of 4 horsemen, marauders with some throwing axes on the right flank. These lads are quite good for harassing enemy lord, pardon for my camera glitch, and some horsemen marauders with some javelins. They're good on taking some crypt horrors or Morris engine or anything large, especially large unarmored units. So as the formation, Nefris goes with this wide line of Chaos Marauders and Chaos Warriors. Well, that's actually a quite good understanding of the game demonstrated by both players here. Obviously, you never expect a better understanding of the game from players like this. So he goes very wide because he knows that vampires are going to blob, and he knows that he's got much higher charge bonus against vampire counterparts, so he wants to deal as much damage on this initial charge if possible and not to let vampires to blob around him. Possibly, of course, we all want to just surround vampire if that is going to be an option during the game. And as the mage, he goes with fire magic, with sword that buffs damage, makes it magical and fire. It's quite good to get a vampire against vampires who are mostly regenerating their key units are. And we've got the mighty dragon Shagath, Colic, and Dragon Ogre Shagath as the support anti-cavalry, anti-large unit. Well, they are both quite sustainable and strong, and they won't just be terrified by scary vampire units. And there is that beautiful, fancy mirror guard of Sigvald, these Regiment of Renown Chaos Warriors. So now let's get to Tlaxtlan's army. So as you see here, he's got some quite substantial, damn good air force with 2 Wargheists, with 3 Felbats, with a Terrorgeist, and Red Duke because of course he expects maybe a Lord on the Dragon or Shagath or Everwatch or anything large that is going to be taken out by mighty Red Duke with his ability that debuffs enemy lord. And with all the money that being invested to the air force, there is not much left to the ground force, and actually that's just screening force with some skeleton warriors, with some spearmen and zombies. Well, actually, I haven't got much experience playing against Tlaxtlan being so far away, and actually Nefris is playing against Tlaxtlan first time as well. But during this tournament, like from what I see about Tlaxtlan vampires, he quite often goes these cheap units like skeleton warriors and some Cloth of Nagash, and whether some expensive cavalry or expensive elite air units. So take a look at the formation that he does. He's not trying to spread his forces. He knows that his mortar is going to be healing and his infantry is going to be losing one-on-one against anything. So the plan here is to just make the enemy fatigued, fighting zombies, fighting skeletons, and deal some damage with Morty's engine effect of AoE damage over time, and charging around with the air forces. And here we've got a little bit of surprise force here, the Dire Pack that is anti-large. It's a unit that is actually used here mostly against the horsemen, javelins horsemen with throwing axes. So let's see how it's gonna go. Of course, the vampires, they are supposed to be moving forward. The rules of this tournament are all about attacking as any other tournament. And if you haven't heard much about this tournament, there is going to be a link to the tournament bracket of this competitive event. and you then will see how it was made. Okay, so as you see here, Nefris, he is trying to harass a little bit with his Marauder Horsemen. He knows that Felbats, they're not going to regenerate, so all the damage that he's possibly going to deal is supposed to be healed whether by Mortis Engine or by using some Winds of Magic from the Lord. And another important thing about Red Duke is that he haven't got huge pool of magic. He don't have Arcane Conduit or Art of Black Arts as Manfred does. So the magic is limited here when you pick Red Duke, you trade something here. So there is very smart play by Tlax, screening his troops with Terrorgas, who is going to regenerate a little bit, and he can dodge all the shots that been thrown to them. And actually, Marauder Horseman is a very, very nice unit with high DPS, but the ammo is limited, and these long, prolonged combats against vampires, they demand a lot of ammo, which is not so easy. Okay, I'm sorry for the sound, the voices were too loud. So the Mortis Engine is being behind. I think that Tlaxtlan already saw the Fire Mage, who possibly is going to be throwing some fireballs, and the distance just will help to dodge those. So Felbats are not finding a good target for themselves at this moment, and Manfred and Terrorgas, they're gaining into a position from the flank, and this is very, very dangerous thing to be, because usually when they form and they place their flying units from this angle to your infantry, that probably some nasty breath is incoming. So everyone who's facing flyers, you just to be a little bit careful with that, because this is what happens here and there, but damage is dealt and it's gonna be taking more and more. So here is very, very important moment. Some small things that we don't usually think of, but they are key moments. Tlaxtlan is not going to the middle of the enemy. He just forcing the engagement on the flank where not so many units are actually placed, and Nefris is not trying to engage him as well. He just regroups. He puts his cheaper Marauder, Chaos Marauders in front. Then he knows that those are going to win melee combat against zombies, and he's just waiting and dealing some damage. So bats are placed all around. They're ready to be thrown forward at the perfect moment. The Dire Pack is also, I think, just trying to find some good moment to attack, and the Fireball is coming into Mortis Engine that is trying to be yes. Well, Tlaxtlan knew that it was coming. He tried to micro it out, but the damage is dealt. It's like 25% just minus from one Fireball. Quite good start for Nefris as well after this breath of Tlaxtlan and his infantry. So now the engagement has begun. The zombies attacking, and Felbats being thrown to prevent this Marauder Horseman from shooting. But as you see here, is almost 10-15% on these two javelins, and about 10%-15% on throwing axes. That's the ammo that is already being used. And here another Fireball is coming, but this one is being dodged by good microing. So like at this moment you could see that almost nothing was moving there, and only the Mortis Engine was taking orders. So actually one of small advices that I could give to any player, it's like try to force your opponent to micro 2 and more units. Like for example, if you're planning some maneuver from outside of the woods, do some fireball attack. Like let the guy being just concentrate on that fireball just coming to your Mortis Engine, and then you use some cavalry or some anything else just to attack from behind. So this is one of the most important tricks about this game, like combining these things like 2 threats incoming from other sides, and the opponent just be overwhelmed. So here Tlaxtlan was able to out-micro Nefris with his Mortis dodge and let Nefris to lose his Winds of Magic on useless Fireball. And here is the chance for Dragon Augurs and for Tlaxtlan Eater to attack Mortis Engine that being put forward, but immediately you can see that Tlaxtlan saw it and he's attacking, he's putting just total destruction to Sun Eaters, running his all the flyers, while all the infantry units there spread around. There is engagement of overwhelming vampire forces attacking Dragon Augurs, Shagas, Sun Eater. They're being just surrounded, totally surrounded, and that ability of Red Duke, I'm sorry, he just used the debuff and attacking, trying to snipe the General of Chaos, and now it's gonna go very, very difficult for those. But immediately Nefris responds with ignoring all other threats and attacking only the Red Duke, throwing him to almost 30% of health. And now the Invocation of Nehak Overcast being thrown, another fireball coming into the face of Mortis Engine, and Red Duke is just forced to retreat, leaving the surrounded Tlaxtlan Eater that being so well by Nefris, and only attacking with Cycle Charge and Terrorgeist and some flying Wargeist. But the problem about the Wargeist is that their mass is not so high, so here and there they are going to be stuck in the units of Chaos, and without being able to move, been taking some damage, and that is going to be summed up. But from the other side, you see that there is a beautiful play by both players, because the Felbats, they're trying to harass these Horsemen Marauders, but Nefris, he also plays very well by using his Chaos Marauders to protect his horsemen. He's not trying to throw everything to these force of vampires, only skeletons. He knows that there are other many fields that his effort can be used, and especially protecting his valuable Marauder horsemen. That is so nice played by Nefris. Well done. So, and the main engagement here is the center. It's all about anti-large units, these monsters fighting in the middle, and you can see that the unit of Wargeist, he's stuck here, sent to half health. Another breast was coming to Marauder Horseman. Tlaxtlan knows that there is a lot of damage that is coming from those Marauders, so he's trying to snipe those as well. I'm not sure if that was the best way, but why not? So another Cycle Charge is coming for the I'm sorry, the sound is just a little bit too high. Let's do like this. So another charge has gone to Dragon Augurs Shagas. He's being surrounded, taking a lot of damage, but his stats are so high, he's actually able to push forward with his hits all the attacking forces. Then Dragon Colic, he's coming back and sniping the Red Duke again. So these Marauder Horsemen, they're being challenged, being able to hit some Skeleton Warriors. Maybe it would be much better, of course, to attack some Wargeist. They are much more expensive. But it's so difficult to micro everything when you have so much cycle charging from some legendary player like Tlaxtlan Soothsayer, and you cannot control everything here and there. So another cycle charge, another air force coming for the Tlaxtlan Eater and their Dragon Augur. Then Wargeists are trying to get some horsemen just to frighten them out, let them go out, stop them, prevent them from dealing any damage. Mortis Engine being just cycle charged again and again to these absolutely heroic, epic Chaos Warriors that been holding the ground for so long. That was so good, so well done by them. Chaos Marauders, of course, doing a short job with those zombies. It's quite easy. Other two units of vampires are mostly not used there. So after trying to snipe the Mage, Fire, Sorcerer, Red Duke again has to retreat. The Wargeist trying to help their lord, but being caught and actually taking a lot of damage. So now this blob of large units, it's what is actually going on about this game. These large monsters, they're being microed from both sides. The air units of Tlaxtlan with his vampires and ground force of Nefris. So another fireball is coming for Mortis Engine and another miss. That means that other 8 or 9 winds of magic just wasted to nothing. So another invocation of Nehak here with some desperate try to heal his lord, and it's actually absolutely even on the balance bar at this moment. As you see, there is not actually much is going on here around the map. Only these dire pack wolves that are quite away now. They just dealt with some units and being thrown back to the main mayhem. 2 units are retreating. These Marauder horsemen, they're actually spending a lot of time killing these skeleton spearmen, and these zombies, they've been totally forgotten about. They're just standing there chilling, seamlessly looking their lord fighting. So Marauder horsemen here that actually possibly could be routed by some war gaze, just to swap this balance bar a little bit to the favor of vampire counts. Marauder horsemen is actually they've been able to waste almost all of their ammo, right? And the last, I only can see 3 units of Marauders, probably 1 being destroyed. Okay, so at this moment Nefris is trying to crush this isolated unit of spearmen, probably understanding that this main fight in the middle, this unit of Chaos Warriors may be lost, and he's trying to deal at least some damage to change the balance bar. And another charge coming from the Red Duke, trying to get the Fire Mage, Fire Sorcerer. See some war guys, they're routing these Marauders, and a beautiful maneuver, like after Red Duke attacked these Fire Sorcerer, Nefris retreated, and Tlaxtlan knew that some other units coming for him. He turns his back, and immediately Nefris sends his mage just to attack Red Duke. He lands a hit, and that was just quite free damage on the most important unit of vampires. So the dire pack is coming back. All this blob of units is actually, it's so cheap. Zombies, skeleton warriors, zombies, skeleton warriors. It's only like how much, 900, right? Against 850. Like cheap units being blobbed here, and they are still not able to do anything. Like a lot of models, but the melee defense, melee attack is just too low to destroy them. But with the help of some dire packs, this unit is routing and just going away. Tlaxtlan is trying to use his Terror Guys to deal some damage, free damage, because the unit is regenerating, but making another mistake and another beautiful micro stuff by Nefris. He's using his Marauder Horsemen just to, not to deal any damage to Terror Guys, but to block it with the massive horsemen Marauders. Like infantry wouldn't be able to stop this unit from retreating, but he knows that, okay, I'm gonna throw these Marauder Horsemen. Okay, they're gonna take some damage probably, but I'm gonna deal some damage with 2 anti-large monsters, Shagathis, on these Terrorgeist. This is big. This was really well played. So immediate answer by Tlaxtlan Soothsayer. He's charging from behind. He's aiming, especially Marauder Horseman with his Wargeist, and he's aiming the Lord of Chaos with his 2 dragons. And Mortis is here, that is dealing some damage and supporting with regeneration. So as you see, the Chaos is trying to regroup, and Red Duke realized that he's not able to hold his ground against Dragon Ogre, and he's being microed again and again to cycle charge again and again on this Lord. Attack, hit, fly, attack, charge. This is what's going on again and again. But 2 mighty Shagathis. Will Tlaxtlan be able to kill these 2? Will Nefris be able to destroy this beautiful micro by Tlax in the air? Well, it's gonna take 1.5 minutes more. We'll see soon. As you see, Tlaxtlan's Lord is getting very low in health, and this is very actually dangerous situation to be in. And again, Terrorgeist is being microed to charge Dragon Ogre, and as you see, the Terrorgeist is actually on very high health. And with these Mortis, with some other units still on the ground, like Terrorgeist could probably deal a lot of damage to both Shagathis, even if Red Duke will fall down now. But that's not something that should be considered at this moment by Tlaxtlan. He has to keep his Lord alive by any cost, and the Mortis engine on very low, 5% health. Oh my, this is so close, so epic and close game, and the Fire Sork trying to snipe the Mortis engine. Tlax sees this threat, retreats, then cycle charge, counter charges this Fire Sorcerer and he's going back, and immediately the answer from Nefris. He's attacking with his ogre. The Red Duke's being attacked. So low health. It's like one hit and he's done. It's so close. The Fire Mage is back. Mortis on the brink of his death. It's so close at this moment. Both lords are very low on health. Like couple of hits from Terrorgeists. Colic is dead. One hit of anything, Mortis is dead. And here comes another fireball. After two of these being missed, wasted to nothing. There is constant pressure by Nefris with these fireballs or Mortis. Will he be able to destroy it finally to change the situation? And yes, he destroys it. The epic explosion just brings to the end Mortis card, Mortis engine, and Duke lands on the Colic, tries to deal some damage just to finish it without actually realizing that his Mortis is down. His Lord is desperate to deal any damage and win this fight against mighty Colic Sun Eater, and only 15 seconds left. And it's all about some lucky charge by lucky hits by any of the Lord. And here comes the mighty Colic with his hit on Red Duke. Red Duke is still fighting. He is not able to be destroyed so easily. Some smoke is coming from the Mortis engine that just went down a second ago. And another Dragon Ogre coming from the behind. Attack Red Duke. And will it be it? Yes! Oh my god, that was so epic. Red Duke has fallen. Red Duke has fallen. Nefris destroys Red Duke, and there is almost nothing left. There is only Chaos Warriors, mighty Chaos Warriors standing their ground. There is only one Terrorgeist. There is so terrifying unit, so well played by Tlaxtlan, but he's not able to just grind all these cavalry and the mighty Colic, and this is it, the over. The first game in the series of semi-finals in official Creative Assembly tournament with more than $1,500 in China with special prizes for the winners. The first game of these epic semi-finals between number 3 in last Chinese tournament, Nefris, and number 1 in Total War Warhammer by combined wins about all the tournaments played, Tlaxtlan Soothsayer. This game is over. Nefris takes the first game. So now let's get to the analysis of what happened and see the actual results. So as you can see, the army composition with 4 Marauders, I think that Nefris got them because he knows that these units, they are going to deal with any skeleton warriors, whether those are spearmen or swordsmen, zombies, and possibly ghouls. So he knew that it's going to be enough 4 of them just to send to against these cheap units. And Nefris, he's actually one of these players who studies his opponent, and he probably knew that something, some screening infantry force from Tlaxtlan could be coming. Then about other infantry units that he chose, these are 3 Chaos Warriors with great weapons that actually were able to stand their ground for quite a while. They're absolutely awesome morale. Didn't let them to be routed. They've got very high mass, so they were able to block some monster units like Wargeist and even sometimes Terrorgeist. Then he's got this Mirror Guard. Well, for the price, this unit is very nice. Like, he would be able to hold his ground against some Grave Guards, against any kind of infantry units, and also against possible Crypt Horrors, because the defense, melee defense stat is very high on this unit. So you can see this unit just grinded 196 cheap units and was mostly untouched. Then Nefris got these 4 units of Murder Horsemen just to harass. We discussed that before. And Tlaxtlan Soothsayer with his screening force, with his air force. I think that looking at his army composition, I think that he probably expected some chosen army here, because going to dragons like Terrorgeist and Dragon, Tlaxtlan Soothsayer also brought Wargeists. And when you think, why do you bring Wargeists? Like I did a lot of tests against dead matchups, like vampires against high elves, vampires against dark elves with heavy infantry and chaos. One of the most annoying things is when these enemies, they go heavy infantry, like chosen halberds or dark elf guards of Nagaroth, or high elf with their heal and their elite halberds, and you actually don't have an infantry of vampire that is able to deal with them. Even grave guards with great weapons, they cannot stand those chosen with halberds or black guards of Nagaroth. You cannot charge them with blood knights or any other cavalry because they're gonna brace the charge. So actually, after all the tests, I think that Tlaxtlan realized that thing as well, that the best way to deal with those elite halberds is to bring some wargeists, put them behind those units and charge them from behind, and then try to pull them out of that. That is the biggest damage that you can deal, and then you can charge with your cavalry or with your units and so on. So he knew that he's going to lose the infantry fight anyway to chaos, and he didn't want to risk bringing any grave guards because they could possibly be destroyed by some large foes, and he probably expected some chosen armies. So I think that this game was actually about a proper army compositions, great micro as usual, and that was it. Nefris was able to pull the first win in the series against Tlaxtlan Soothsayer, and we are going to be watching the next game in this best of 5 in Chinese tournament in the next video. The second game in the series of semifinals in the official Chinese tournament, supported by Creative Assembly, between Nefris and Tlaxtlan Soothsayer. So in this case we see Dark Elves of Tlaxtlan, which is actually classical build for him. He does 4-5 swordsman with some support of spears. Usually he does take 2 usual spearmen, but here he went with Regiment of Renault version with this holobrane. Then he builds his gameplay of Dark Elves against Empire through these cavalry, superior cavalry units. And despite the assumption of many Empire players that Empire should go with a lot of heavy cavalry units to overwhelm the Dark Elf cavalry units, I'm one of these who is being skeptical about that, and we actually spent a lot of time with Nefris preparing to this tournament, specifically aiming to some effective counter against Dark Elves as Empire. And actually last series when we played against Tlaxtlan and I lost 2-3 and we had 1 draw, actually the decisive game was against Dark Elves, and I picked Empire because I've been preparing this kind of stuff to this specific gameplay of Tlaxtlan. But then I went for a tea, took a few minutes and came back and said to Tlaxtlan, you know man, I just like dwarves and I want to finish the series beautiful. So that was a mistake. I got absolutely crushed by Tlaxtlan Dark Elves. He destroyed my dwarves. So, but Nefris, he didn't make the same mistake, and he actually took what was prepared against Dark Elves. And here with these 4 cold on knights, with Regiment of Slanesh Harvesters, with the Chariot and the Knights of the Ebenclaw, and these Mage of Death with Fate of Buna to take down some elite cavalry units. Tlax is actually expecting the classical standard Empire gameplay, but Nefris is able to deliver a special prepared surprise for Tlaxtlan, considering how actually I find Cold One Knights and some of the cavalry units of Dark Elves a little bit overperforming. So that's what you can expect from top player to do, like investing 4,000 to anti-large units of cavalry, and then 1,400 to another unit, and 1,300 to another one. So it's like only about 2,000 only invested to the infantry force. Everything else is cavalry. And here you have Balthazar Gelt with the transmutation of lead to snipe the Lord, and that's exactly what is going to be happening now. Nefris is rushing forward to deal some early game damage to these expecting nothing Supreme Sorcerers of Death. This ugly thing. Well, she's cheap. The basic variant only costs like 350 or something, so most of players just buy these units. That I think that the price is going to rise in near patches. So here, from the Empire side of Nefris, we see a box, actually simple as rock, and that's gonna hopefully rock. So here we have two hidden Outriders with grenade launchers. Because actually there is another thing that everyone should know about the matchup against Dark Elves and Empire. Like Cold Ones destroy any cavalry cost to cost, and Bleak Swords destroy every infantry cost to cost, but not great swords. But great swords are going to be taken with some charges of Cold One Knights. So that's why you see only one great sword in the army of Nefris here, hidden in the middle of this box, because he doesn't want to take any charges from the cavalry. And as a counter to his superior Bleak Swords, he is not taking any ranged units that are going to be focusing those. He's taking Outriders. These ranger grenade launchers, they are going to be the main force to deal with these Bleak Swords. So he hid them in the forest to keep the special surprise for a while. Then we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spearmen at arms, or how do they call it? Spearmen, just spearmen, just to hold the ground and not to let these classical Takeda style front charge to have place. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 halberdiers on both flanks, and we have 2 regiment of renowned swordsmen and flagellants from behind. Well, like some players tend to put some infantry, some cavalry, some anti-large units from behind, but actually here we don't see that. I think that Nefris realized that it's going to take a lot of time to just cross it, and he could just switch this unit from behind. So he's probably expecting some cavalry charges from the flanks. And in front we have 2 witches, which are, well, they are not so micro-intensive. They can hold their ground, they will retreat, auto-attack, and they've got that ability to prosecute and destroy anyone who gonna cross them. Like these skills that we tested with Nefris, they should be first used against the most expensive cavalry units, and when have chance to destroy the sorcerers of Tlax. So this is how it's gonna go, and one thing that worth mentioning is these silver bullets units, because you need some good way to destroy the Slaanesh harvesters, and this is going to be the goal, just to control the Slaanesh harvesters with shooting from witch hunters and the silver bullets. So the early damage from the Balthazar Gelt is coming on these Supreme Sorcerers. She's trying to probably somehow micro, but there is no escape from this magic. So just sit there and feel pain, my friend. Alright, so the line of Dark Elves trying to approach with their Bleak Swords. They've got silver shields, and at this moment, again, I say he doesn't see the Outriders hidden in this small forest. So now he sees the silver bullets who gonna set their first volley on some of these units. I'm not sure, maybe there's going to be, no, not chariots. Okay, so there was auto attack on Bleak Swords. Not the best amount of damage, but actually considering that he pulled his Cold One chariots behind, there was no other target. He'll hear the absolute devastating grenade volley coming. Tlaxtlan is able to micro it out, to retreat, and to negate the most of damage, and here the most scary thing is coming. The large force of cavalry units supported with Bleak Swords, they're going to just go inside into this lane of spearmen, and this is something very, very scary for most of Empire players. So Bleak Swords here are weakened much by the grenade launchers, by ranged firepower. So this gives the Empire more chances, and Tlax is trying to hit from the flank the spearman unit, but actually they brace and there is no damage dealt whatsoever, not more than Cold Riders got by themselves. Fatal Buna coming onto these Outriders with grenade launchers. This charge of infantry for not braced spearmen is going just in their face, just in front. So Tlaxtlan is not trying to surround or try to break this force. He knows that actually these spearmen, they lost their ability to brace cavalry charges since they engaged the infantry unit. So Tlax just trying to use his brute force, not mobile, I don't know, not mobile trickery. He's just using the brute force of his very, very cost-efficient cavalry units to break through anti-large units. That is something that actually I think quite formidable mentioning. So another overcast of Balthazar's transmission of lead coming on the face on these Supreme Sorceress, and you see how much damage he's actually taking. He's trying to pull his general back, not to let any other units to suffer from this magnificent spell. So charge after charge, these units of Empire are being just taken care of. The Sisters of Slaughter, they are cutting through all these swordsmen and other infantry units. One cavalry just cycle charge again and again in front of the face of anti-large units. So here comes the bombardment from Balthazar Gale to deal some more damage. Right flank is routing the two Bleak Swords units, cut through. Now they are fighting Great Swords and ROR, the swordsmen of Sigvald, or who they are, yeah, Sigmar's son. The chariot is not able to be controlled now anymore because it's on the rage state and it's just stuck there fighting the infantry. Well, hopefully, unfortunately, not the anti-large units for Tlax. So the units of Silver Bullets, they are trying to snipe down these Harvesters of Slaanesh, who tried to do some flanking here. Very nice play by both opponents, and we see here that the front line is just being again and again beaten by these cavalry charges. The Outriders of the Grenade Launcher are still alive. There are a lot of forces all around this box, improvised box of Empire, and two Witch Hunters are still standing tough, 100%. Balthazar Gelt is also unbeatable. He's standing, and with all the infantry that Empire had, he lost almost everything but these two flagellants and some halberds at this moment. And this is going to be big. And as you see here, the left flank of Empire being penetrated and spread. So these units that retreated here, they opened these space for Tlaxtlan to go inside and try to get these Outriders with grenade launchers, some of these Silver Bullets if they're gonna have a chance. And at this moment you have this Witch Hunter and Balthazar Gale that is actually able to just charge from the bow to these sorcerers to deal some damage. Even if the cavalry is gonna catch, there is not going to be a big risk. But for some reason, I don't know, maybe it was a misclick, maybe it was not the intention, but Balthazar decides not to risk sending his troops forward. He's just letting the Supreme Sorcerers just to go forward. So the engagement getting to these Silver Bullets, which is so essential unit here. The Supreme Sorceress is very low in health, and both Witch Hunters are trying to snipe her at this moment just to decrease the morale of these units. Harvesters of Slaanesh are trying to manage to do the best micro that possible, and finally Gelt coming to finish the Sorceress. The General of Dark Elves is down, and now this is going to be big. Few anti-cheap large units are fighting against a lot of cavalry units. There is a chariot, there are some still infantry units around the map, but there is still the Outriders, which are very difficult to catch. You still need to get it done with the Witch Hunters, who are so high on ammo. And another charge coming in the face of these swordsmen, but this is the forest engagement that actually benefits the infantry in this case. So the chariot is coming to take down some of these Silver Bullets, help their Harvesters. Outriders keep shooting, keep focusing their fire on these infantry units, and some of these auto attacks go into the face of Cold Riders, who are raging now and forced to fight the Spearmen. This is not what you want to be happening. And the most important thing that is now here is this blob of 2 halberds fighting some of the infantry units. So if those units are not to be taken care of with some infantry, these halberds just gonna grind over every cold one rider here. And with their low health of these cold riders, they're just raging. They're not listening any orders. This is the price that you pay for insanely cheap, insanely effective unit. You get low on health, you lose control. This is why they cost only 1,000. You compare these Golden Riders to Demigryphs, and they are just wreck them cost by cost. But you lose control, and that was Nefris is being doing here. And here we go. Tlaxtlan realizes that there is no chance left. Actually, that was maybe not like fight to the end, big guy decision, tough guy decision, but actually Tlaxtlan is tough and big, and we all know that. But I think that was quite obvious that he lost, because at some point he couldn't be able to micro his cavalry units, which is Tlaxtlan Soothsayer main advantage against enemies. And Nefris actually got prepared to this match. He intentionally got the prepared build. He knew precisely what Tlaxtlan is doing with his Dark Elves. So he trained for this and he did what he deserved. He just outplayed Tlaxtlan. So with the Outriders, who dealt a lot of damage to Bleak Swords, then with a lot of anti-large units, you see the investment, like just count like 4,000 for Cold Riders, then 5,300 plus these, it's 6,700, and plus, oh my god, that's 8,000. That's 8,000 put into cavalry. 8,050 gold put into cavalry. Then we have 1,900 plus 3,000 these, 3,700 put to infantry. Like you see the proportion, like 3,700 against 8,000, more than 8,000 put to cavalry. And here on the other side, we have a totally like infantry-based army with only 2 Outriders, which are not even cavalry, 0 cavalry, because he knows that he's not going to be able to beat these guys. And that's what was smart. He tried to harass with Balthazar Yell from the beginning. He knew that Supreme Sorceress is cheap, super cost-efficient general. You just leave her behind, you keep money, and you get this kind of army there. But he kept pressuring her with magic. His general wasn't on Griffon, because he could be just at some point eaten by the cavalry. And he got 2 Witch Hunters to use the damaging abilities to most important, most dangerous cavalry units first, and then tried to snipe the Lord. And with the ability to just stop the initial charge from the Cold Riders behind Bleak Swords into the Spearmen, Dark Elf just couldn't wipe up all these units, grind them all. If Nefris would just prefer to go spread army with this kind of build, I'm not sure that this is the result that we would see here. Pyrrhic victory for Nefris. The amount of mobile units would just destroy this 4 spread army. But he did most effective thing here. A lot of anti-large, a lot of ranged, and he boxed. And he deserved the win. So this is unpredictable 2 for Nefris and 0 for Tlaxtlan Soothsayer in this beginning of the semi-final series, best of 5 in official Chinese tournament supported by Creative Assembly, with the prize pool of more than $1,500 and special prizes from the creators. So this was Morgengrad's show. If you'd like to see following videos of these 2 guys playing, or continue the series, or see some other videos, just check out my channel. I post some videos time to time, and I'll see you in the next game. Пожаловать, мы продолжаем нашу серию игр Nefris against Tlaxtlan Soothsayer that's been taking place in Chinese official tournament of Total Warhammer 2. The most legendary Tlaxtlan Soothsayer being losing to last year's number 3 in the official Chinese tournament, and probably the most promising to this point Chinese player this year, Nefris, who was able to win 2 games in a row against Tlax, winning with his Empire, winning with initial fight of Chaos against Tlax Vampires. But this is not the first time when Tlax loses 2 games in a row during this tournament. That's exactly the situation that I had with Tlax. He lost 2 games and we have a draw, then I lost 3 times. So Tlaxtlan not only has a godlike micro, not only knows how to build his armies, but he also able to be pressured but still get out from the very bad situation and still win. So we will see how it's gonna go in this series. So Nefris goes with Tomb Kings, Tlaxtlan counters with some Chaos, and let's see how it's gonna go. Nefris went with some Archon, with the Skeleton summoned, with some cheap infantry spearmen, with tomb guards, with or how they called, then 3 Ushapti with bows, some cavalry unit, and the beautiful Scorpion to take down the elite infantry. And Tlax actually went with 2 ogres. One of these is Shagas Colic Mighty One. Then we've got I think that the Lord of Metal, 2 warrior Chaos Warriors, 3 chosen halberds, 1 chariot, 1 hound. So actually that is so nice build that I see here from the Tlax. You see, ogres, they are going to be destroying any large. That's obvious, right? But then you give 3 halberds. They are going to crush absolutely any infantry that Tomb Kings have. So now Nefris has to use his Ushapti bows to aim all of these units. He has to take down 3 chosen, the general, and the ogre with only 3 Ushapti bows. That's going to be challenging, guys. And with the help of this chariot, he's going to crush the formation of Tomb Kings to break through. Then we have hounds for any case if there is going to be something to chase. And my head is spinning as well as my camera, so let's get to the game and the formation. So initially Nefris goes with very wide formation with Ushapti great bows being put into the front to deal some more damage from the beginning. And you can see that this map is very small, so this map is all about actually this frontal engagement with these 2 cliffs on both sides. And let's see how it's gonna go. Initially Tomb Kings are attacking some of these halberds without being taken any orders, and now Colic is coming. There is a beautiful net is set to trap Colic. They are shooting with all of their bows. Scorpion is retreating, and immediately Dragon Ogre ties down these Ushapti great bows, not letting them deal much damage to the precious unit, to the Colic. And the engagement of infantry units are starting. The Chaos Marauder is gonna be winning against Skeleton Spearmen, of course, Warriors, and every single actually unit of Chaos is just taken on the weaker counterpart of Tomb Kings. This poor Tomb Scorpion, he puts himself in a situation where he attacks Dragon Ogre Shagas. He takes some hits, he lands some, but still loses in this engagement. And even though Dragon Ogre Shagas has to retreat, now the Tomb Scorpion is just isolated there. The general and the mage are fighting. Mage just harassing some Ushapti, retreating. The chosen, they are being untouched, mostly untouched here. They are just destroying, crushing Tomb Guards to just total ashes. Tomb Scorpion haven't able to find any good target for himself, trying to just run around from these ogres. He's not able to destroy any of these halberds actually, so he's just left without the target. Another net is coming to Colic Sun Eater, and a lot of damage being done by this Ushapti, but the infantry is not able to hold for long enough to let this Ushapti to deal enough damage. Scorpion is trying to force Dragon Ogre Shagas to turn around, stop attacking. There is another buff on physical resist coming from Archon, trying to just protect his forces. The automatic heal is coming from this Realm of Soul tier 2, and the cavalry unit is actually surrounding Dragon Ogre Shagas. Beautiful summon between these 2 units of Sun Eater of Shagas, because now these guys are going to be possibly hitting some skeleton warriors instead of these important tomb scorpions or necropolis knights or these Ushapti. And another beautiful flanking coming from Tlaxtlan Soothsayer with beautiful Chaos Warhound's poison corner charge. You see that? And not much damage dealt, but since even though those hounds are not anti-large or armor-piercing, they're attacking from behind of these Ushapti. So Ushapti get just 0 defense against these attacks. So that's actually very good. And you see that the damage being done. Dragon Ogre Shagos is going down as well because of this cavalry that has surrounded them. Chosen just grinding their way forward through all of these pathetic Tomb Kings. This is going to be very, very tough for Nefris to pull this game off, to destroy these halberds chosen, to take down Dragon Colic Sun Eater. You see that he's trying to protect his lord at this moment, Lich Priest. Now there is almost no possibility to put a net because so much Winds of Magic being used. This cavalry unit of Necropolis Knights being thrown on Chosen, another summon of Ushapti coming from the global ability of Tomb Guards. Dragon Ogre Shagos returns back to fight just to finish this Ushapti with great bows. Then the Archon the Black trying to snipe and stop these chariots from dealing more and more damage, and this looks very, very, very difficult. The most important unit, Dragon Ogre, almost down, but is able to destroy Necropolis Knights. Another net is coming to the Sun Eater, but there is nothing left to shoot him with. All of the ranged armor-piercing units of Tomb Kings are just tied up in close combat. And even though Archon the Black tries to get rid of this care of Warhounds with poison, these Skeleton Spearmen Tomb Guards, they are not able to hold. And all is fading. The net being useless, wasted for nothing. The Ushapti weren't able to get down the Sun Eater. They are now trying to get Dragon Ogre Shagos. Beautiful charge with the chariot just to not to let Ushapti to attack. 2 huge monsters just destroying the most valuable unit of Tomb Kings. The desperate charge of Archon the Black on Colic Sun Eater, and the probably Dragon Ogre Shagos are going to rout. Wow, that was unpredictable actually, and that was actually not enough. At some point, you just realize that there is just a second that separates you from inevitable defeat, because when you see 2 armies, you can expect some tricky play from Tomb Kings to win, but actually, pragmatically saying, there is not much to destroy these chosen Dragon Ogres in the Nefris Tomb Guards build. So I think that he was expecting some halberds, some casual halberds, not the chosen one. He got some Tomb Scorpions, but even like against the chosen Tomb Scorpions can deal some damage, but most of the time that's not going to be enough. The mass of chosen is so huge. They will grind your infantry, then they will get your monsters. So you can run, but you can hide, bitch. So actually there was beautiful play. Nefris tried to do his best with dealing some damage, rooting to kill Colic Sun Eater, rooting to kill some Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, but he still hadn't got enough resources to destroy the Chosen. And every single unit in Tlaxtlan, considerably small army, twice smaller army, was much superior in close combat to Tomb Kings. And even with these summons, with these buffs of Archon the Black, that wasn't the case to bring another win in this series to Nefris. So the score now is getting to 2-4 Nefris, top Chinese player during this season, and Tlaxtlan Soothsayer is 1 now. So that was a match that actually brings us to the next game. This is Morgengrad. We'll see the next game of this series very soon, lads. And this is I think that was a first pick of High Elves countered by Tlaxtlan Britonia. So immediately we see some quite a heavy anti-large investment in Nefris' army. He's not trying to invest anything into expensive cavalry units. He does only 2 rivers and some good air force. Tlaxtlan goes quite actually obvious stuff for Bretonnia against High Elves. 3 Knights of the Realm, I think, right? What is the name? That 1,500 anti-large unit. Then Grail Guardians, Blessed Trebuchet, with 2 veterancy status to improve their accuracy. And a lot of warrior units with support of 2 Peasant Bowmen and General Fey Enchantress for giving health for 2 unkillable Grail Knights and Grail Guardians. So, on the other side, as I mentioned, there is anti-large infantry here from Nefris, 2 Phoenix Guard, 3 Spearmen, there is a huge Star Dragon, the Alariel, the Radiant, and Noble. Well, we'll see how it's gonna go. There is these tricky rivers hiding in the forest. And let's going. So immediately first shots coming from Trebuchet. Nefris realized that he has to move forward. There is no way to sit down or do whatever. He tries to keep his formation quite tight. Big shots coming from the Trebuchet, killing how many models? Like 6 models from this rock. And some shots from Peasant Bowmen are incoming for this flying force of High Elves. So immediately you see these maneuvers from Tlaxtlan. He knows that the enemy comes into his middle, so he's just regrouping his force, trying to surround them when they will just engage in the middle, reducing their morale and dealing some damage from behind. So on the approach, Tlaxtlan totally ignores all other threats, but these Phoenix Guards, he actually aims them with all the ranged units that he has. And Alariel on the ground is just there to give some heals to this Star Dragon that is actually, I think, is supposed to deal the most damage to these Grail Knights and Grail Guardians of Tlaxtlan Soothsayer. So as you see, there is no direct engagement, and what is going on here? Spearmen and halberds of High Elves are going to get just surrounded by this inferior infantry force, and here comes the charge from the both sides. These spearmen are not bracing, they're taking some damage, not that high, fortunately. And another big, absolutely huge charge from Tlaxtlan on these Phoenix Guard, who are supposed to be just destroying cavalry units, but they've been caught on the move, so no brace, no good day for these guys. This leader in river is trying to get to Trebuchet, immediately countered by these Grail Knights and beautiful micro by Nefris. He's trying to save his cheap mobile infantry units. Heal coming from Fey Enchantress to his Bretonian cavalry units. The engagement of infantry on the left flank, the right flank, these quite weak forces, they still doing their job there. A leader in the river is attacking these bowmen and the main fight here in the middle. And the only question is, like, who is going to grind better? Will Nefris gonna be able to hold some of these Grail Knights and Grail Guardians to deal enough damage before they will just cycle charge everything that surrounds this battlefield? There is 6, almost 7 minutes of gameplay, and it's going to be very intriguing. Is something unpredictable going to happen? As I say, this game is 3rd of best of 5, and any time if Nefris wins, this is it. Tlaxtlan is out. But this is not a person you can expect to just surrender. Tlax is going to do his best, and what he does now, it is the best. Doing Bretonnia against High Elves, you go with your cavalry, you spread your cheap forces, and you just divide the enemy, and then you just cycle charge and deal as much damage as possible. But Nefris, he didn't go with the cavalry, so now he's trying to blob his units, blob his Phoenix Guards around his healer, around his noble, who is actually dealing lots of damage. So even though these peasant bowmen attacking, they are not able to deal a lot of damage to Phoenix Guard, but still, again and again, Blessed Field Trebuchet, they're aiming for the Phoenix Guards, and they do deal a lot of damage by cost. And still, the situation is that Nefris here haven't got the map control. He got isolated and been taken apart by these forces. Only temporary win situation for Nefris is like this peasant bowman been taken care of here, but he's not able to take down these trebuchet. This is so dangerous. And even though the Phoenix is absolutely healthy, the Dragon is absolutely healthy, the army, fielded army of Nefris is just getting smaller and smaller, and you see these just devastating hits by Field Trebuchet. Tlaxtlan now is regrouping. He understands that he needs to protect his Trebuchet. There is a absolutely devastating Star Dragon breath on this Trebuchet, but again, that breath that could be used on much more expensive Grail Guards, and the Field Trebuchet, okay, he got like 30% of the damage that being dealt by this Field Trebuchet. Wasn't that better idea just to blob Tlaxtlan and try to use his breath on this blob? You know, Tlax is blobbing, just try to use this breath, lucky breath, and that could be turned very badly, and you have 2 more breaths left. But it's very easy to judge for us, see all these small things. There is not so easy to do that when you are playing such an intense game. Another heal is coming for the High Elves, trying to get back the health of Star Dragon, who got 2 veterancy statuses during this fight, destroying a lot of units. Another retreat from the cavalry of the Britonia. Another cycle charge is coming, and this situation of Nefris being surrounded by these quite weak infantry forces of Tlaxtlan and charged again and again to destroy all his infantry. That is what's going on here, guys. And the Trebuchet is so close, but still unreachable. Tlaxtlan is trying to zone out any threats to his Trebuchet. Nefris understands that he cannot go out and spread his single entities, heroes and units too much. He's trying to pick some of the Trebuchet, but he knows that the Noble is not able to deal a lot of damage because he's just too small for that. It's going to take a lot of time from that. The Enchantress, Radiant is coming to help Noble at some point, realize that she needs to be back close to Star Dragon to put a heal if needed. 1 Field Trebuchet goes down, and Nefris grinding his way with this ball of heal destruction of High Elves so close to Trebuchet. The Nobles coming back, probably rooting for another heal. I'm not sure that it's good time for a heal. 3 of the units were absolutely healthy. Only the Dragon was had some problems with health, and now the Dragon, he gets surrounded by anti-large infantry and cavalry units, and he's taking a lot of damage. He's trying to pull him out. Well, the supporting heroes, they should be closer, a little bit closer. This is so difficult to control, I understand that. But now the Dragon is taking damage from all the sides. This standing blob of cavalry units, this is so ugly, I think. This healing area abilities, they just let some units to be blob like this, and that just... guys, I find it really ugly, to be honest. And the Dragon is just going down. Dragon loses his will to fight. He's routing, and there is probably nothing that can stop him from routing, because the map is totally controlled by Tlax. He will just let this Dragon go out of the map, and only 3 units are left for the High Elves. There is another Radiant. Heal is coming. Beautiful animations from the Phoenix. But is that going to be enough? Is that going to be enough to rout all of these forces of Britonia? To grind everything? This is a big question, guys. Maybe some lucky snipe of Enchantress could bring it to the end. Because these guys, they're quite high on health. But it's so difficult to imagine that this is going to be good for the High Elves. Another charge, and Noble being surrounded and realizes that it's so close. No, he decides not to retreat. And 3 units, 40 more seconds 2 more charges. Another Grail Knights charging into the back. Not dealing much of damage, but definitely showing these 3 guys that you have no chance. Sooner or later, you will just rout one by one, and this is what happens. Noble loses his will to fight first. The Phoenix is soon to follow. And this guys looks like the end. This is Tlax 2, Nefris 2. 7 more seconds. And we are going to see what's gonna happen next in the next match. Well, some games are all about micro. Some games are about army composition and good picks. Some games are all about all 3 things mentioned. Here you see a good counter pick by Tlaxtlan. There are many different opinions about the metagame and about the ability of some races to take care of the other races. But most of people say that just high elves are not able to beat an army like this of Britannia. I'd say that probably with some elite armor-piercing archers that High Elves recently got, maybe that is possible, and sometimes you really can do that. But maybe as well the army of Nefris was around these hills, blobbing forces, and using his dragon to deal damage in close combat and use his breath ability to destroy some of these units. But that didn't work, and we've got a close game, a beautiful game, 2 for Nefris, 2 for Tlaxtlan, and the match of the series is going to be played in a few minutes, guys. We'll see what's gonna happen next. This is Morgengrad, and I'll see you soon. So guys, the last game between Nefris and Tlaxtlan Soothsayer in the semi-finals of Chinese Asian Cup, call it whatever you like. We've got 2 wins for Nefris and 2 wins for Tlaxtlan, and that's gonna be Empire to Dwarves. And we've got Nefris playing Dwarves with a lot of, actually most of his units are not armor piercing. 3 Bugman Rangers, some Dwarf Warriors, 5 of them, Longbeards, Slayers, Gyrocopter, 2 artillery pieces with organ gun, and Tlaxtlan goes with the very wide heavy infantry army with 5 great swords, 3 spearmen just to be a fodder and take some shots. Then we have 4 swordmen, I assume, to take on some rangers or slayers. 2 witch hunters, Balthazar Gelt, 2 Empire Knights for harassing, and 1 crossbowman, probably to control the air and put some shot on artillery pieces. They are not armored, and maybe on some slayers. So let's take a look. That's gonna be the last game, and whoever wins this one gets to the finals to fight for the quite good prize actually, and some gifts from Creative Assembly. So first shots coming from Dwarf, from Nefris, those being automatic shots. And actually what has to be mentioned, like this first volley, I'm not sure if that was intended, but the first volley of cannon just takes a lot of HP, like 30% of hit points or 25% of hit points from this witch hunter. That's big. And the Gyrocopter crew, they're coming not to the best spot they could get, just in front of these crossbowmen. So they're taking fire, they're retreating, and this huge wide line of infantry is getting closer to this box of dwarves. I actually never been a big fan of these tactics, and I actually tried to do my best in Total War Warhammer 1, spending hundreds of hours playing with dwarves with their formations to find some other way to play them. But sometimes, yeah, sometimes it's maybe a good idea to put your forces like this instead of spread formation with a lot of ranged firepower, as I prefer to play. So here we have a Balthazar Gelt's spell, it's Transmutation of Lead, I think, to deal some damage. Nefris responds immediately with retreating, not to be in the circle of this spell, but unfortunately there is a swords and troop there, so they have to go back behind the front line. And here comes the charge from the Empire Knights. They cannot deal much damage because the Longbeards, they got huge mass with Dwarf Warriors and resistance to charges from large foes. So yeah, that's quite paying off at this moment. And now we have a problem with these great swords who are taking on Dwarf Warriors and some other Dwarf Warrior troop. These guys are gonna just do quite a lot of damage against this not armor piercing and not such decent melee combatants. So some runes are coming for slowing and damaging the cavalry. I'm sure that Nefris understands how difficult and dangerous the cavalry if they've been commanded by Tlaxtlan Soothsayer. So the Slayers, they're approaching to this front line. Yes, they haven't got the perfect melee combat stats, but they have 20% resistance and physical resistance. And here there is a gap, and you see how Tlaxtlan Soothsayer actually he formed his troops in a box to let them slip through this small gap between these two units, get to the ranged units. But Nefris responded, attacked those great swords from behind with his long beards, and the right flank is about to fall for the dwarves. There is only Rune Lord, there is only Slayer's troop, but the most important stuff is that these Bugman Rangers, they've been untouched, as well as these Quarrelers for the whole game. The cannon crew is untouched, they are using their ammo, they're dealing a lot of damage, and Tlaxtlan just can't get through. There are no chariots to break through the line, there is no monster to do that. And there is no magical spell being taken by him to destroy the formation and try to slip through. So now all these ranged troops, they're firing to Witch Hunter, they're firing to targets of opportunity, to different targets. They're dealing damage while slowly but quite confidently great swords and the superior infantry of Empire cutting through the right flank. As well as the left flank, they're trying to do that, but fortunately for Dwarf player, his flank being untouched mostly for cavalry at this moment, so they're holding, you see this line, perfectly cold-blooded hold by dwarves just to let their ranged troops to deal some damage. And here we come, incoming the Empire Knight charge into the flank of Longbeards. Some models being thrown, then being dealt some damage, but not really enough to make it something, a game-changing moment. Another Transmutation of Lead has come, destroyed a lot of models, dealt a lot of damage. The Dragonbird Slayers, they're on brink of their destruction. It's so close, and here it looks like there is an opportunity, a good opportunity for Tlaxtlan to get to these Bugman Rangers. Maybe it can make some difference to this moment. Unfortunately for Empire, almost all Quarrelers and Bugman Rangers ammo being used, and they wasn't wasted. He actually just used that to deal a lot of damage, and you see that both sides armies, they are fading, less and less troops. The balance bar shows like 550 for dwarves, 500 for Empire, but Empire still has two heroes. They have two Witch Hunters, they're low in health, but they have a lot of ammo, and this ammo is armor piercing. Yes, it is magical damage, it is going to be reduced by 20% with dwarf's magical resistance, but it's still armor piercing, and every hit, you see every hit just kills 2, 3, 4 models of these dwarfs. So that can be a game changer in the end game of this match, and this is the... I cannot imagine what these guys now are thinking about. Like, we have Bugman Rangers and Quarrelers now fighting in close combat with these great swords who are actually just, we are born to destroy infantry, and when they have a chance just to destroy a ranged infantry, they're perfect. But dwarven infantry, you see, they have 1828 melee attack, melee defense stats, so they're not giving up so easily. And actually, everything that is left for the Empire, it's these Empire Knights, and immediately Nefris throws a rune of destruction, or whatever its name is, please pardon me for my memory. it slows them down, it damages them, and they just losing any hope to stay in fight, and it seems like they may even just rout from the battlefield. We'll see this soon. But this left flank is being just cut through all these dead bodies. They say that there is nothing left of melee force of dwarves on this flank, and it's time for Bugman Rangers to show their melee capabilities. So immediately Nefris regroups his forces, tries to rout some of these units. Witch Hunter is still dealing a lot of damage, and there is actually nothing for dwarves to catch these guys. Their speed is much higher, and dwarves almost run off all of the ammo and the close combat blob. Now it's coming here just to destroy and cut all the remaining ranged units. Oh, you saw that blow, that shot of Witch Hunter? It just took like 10% or 5% of this Bugman Rangers unit, because it's armor piercing and it pierces 3 models, so it damages the stat of like 417 reduced by 20% because of the magical resistance of dwarf. Then it's calculated and damage dealt to 3, 4, 5 models, so it's like more than 1,000 damage dealt. And you see that this army of great swords and swordsmen, they're routing. They haven't been able to take on these Bugman Rangers with this amazing 24, 38 stats in melee combat. That's insane. Actually, ranged units of dwarves, they used all the ammunition they have, and now they are able to hold and actually rout anti-infantry armored great swords of the Empire. This is so big. This is so unpredictable for some non-dwarf players, and this is so big for Tlaxtlan, Soothsayer, for Nefris. And still they have allied troops almost the same, yes, with a slight advantage in numbers for dwarves, but the scale says the Empire has an advantage because of these two witch hunters. They are still so much important, and dwarves, they lost their lord. I missed that moment. I noticed that, but I didn't say about that. I'm sorry for that. And here comes the spell, the bombardment of the Empire. Nefris replies with immediate retreat, tries to negate some damage, and Balthazar Gale just retreats, understanding that he has to regroup, he has to take his troops back and try to push. So, well, guys, this is the semi-final, final game. 2 wins for Nefris, 2 wins for Tlaxtlan, and I just wonder what's now going on in their minds. Like, fortunately for... Oh, there is still one cannon. That's quite good. And you see, that is so nice. This is such a awesome moment that should be mentioned. You saw the cannon there, and immediately Balthazar Gale puts his bombardment right on top of it. Because this bombardment, it takes out 1 artillery model once by cast. So he had the cannon still had its crew. They have operating cannon, and with that cannon he could be harassing. He could take down the Witcher, he could take down the Balthazar Guild given some time, but Tlaxtlan showed just an immediate reaction. He just saw the crew, saw the cannon, and bombarded it immediately. So now you just see the wrecks of those artillery pieces, and the only hope that Balthazar Gale has now is just try to shut. Hey, you just stop! We're gonna win the fight! Come on, man! We came to China to win! Don't run from the battlefield! It's 2v2! It's all about this! It's all about you turn your back, you bastard! So Balthazar Gale just trying to convince this routing witch hunter to return from the battlefield. You see there is some interaction coming. Tlaxtlan, I have no idea what Tlaxtlan is thinking at this moment. I don't want to be at his place now. Actually, let's say I've been to his place when we played our series during this tournament as well. And we had two wins for him, 2 wins for me, 1 draw. Our final game was almost exactly the same setup. I did dwarves. And he did Dark Elves, and he took a lot of infantry. He won that game, so I could probably feel approximately what he feels at this moment, when this is so unbelievable to this moment to see Nefris just having such considerable amount of troops compared to Tlaxtlan. that has almost nothing, and every second, you see every second Bugman Rangers, they just regenerate and they become even stronger, they get back to their force, but Tlaxtlan knows that this is it. You have to attack, there is no other choice, you just have to charge and hope for the best. No hope left almost, but you still have to do the best that you can, and this is what Tlaxtlan is about to do. He's charging the corollary units, dealing some damage. The great swords, they are charging to this artillery crew, cutting through, destroying them all. An immediate back charge from Balthazar Gale to deal some even more damage to dwarves, warriors. And another cycle charges, looks like he's incoming. Witch Hunter is shooting, placing some shots, but him being caught by the Bugman Rangers. Balthazar Gale tries to protect his fellow, attacking, dealing some damage, being surrounded immediately, but Bugman Rangers and armored Balthazar Gale is being hit by ranged units in close combat, and this is it. Great swords are retreating, another Balthazar Gale, Barbarian coming, dodge from Nefris, he regroups, and Witch Hunter is rotating, and this is it! This is the end. Pyrrhic victory for Nefris, for one of the best Chinese players during the last Asian Cup, and probably the best player in China considering his results during this tournament. I gotta say, guys, that was a huge pleasure for me to see this and spectate this series, because I saw some two totally different approaches to the game here by two amazing players who actually, I think that they met before, once they met before in some tournament. And Tlaxtlan, with his amazing micro, with his mobile armies and his flexibility to show some infantry armies in the last combat, he showed some beautiful style. And Nefris, with his pragmatic preparation to this series, he knew what he's going to face. We trained with Nefris a lot, we discussed builds of Tlaxtlan Soothsayer, his playstyle, his empire play, we prepared those things, and he used it very pragmatically. He didn't try to do something that he would probably win against Tlaxtlan. Nefris has good micro, but he, during the trainings, he even said, like, I know that there are some players, including Tlaxtlan or whoever there is, they may have better micro, so I'm not going to play by your game or how Tlaxtlan plays. I'm not going to micro. I'm going to force Tlaxtlan to play my game. I'm going to box, I'm going to camp, I'm going to be attacking with artillery pieces, with some harassing forces of riders, of gyrocopters, and I'm going to make him come. And then his micro ability is going to be very much negated by these close quarter combats, and there I can micro good as well. So actually, huge credit to Nefris that he actually let Tlaxtlan to play Nefris's gameplay most of the time. 3 goes to Nefris, 2 goes to Tlaxtlan Soothsayer. I think, guys, that this is a huge lesson for everyone, and I think that if maybe Tlaxtlan Soothsayer tried to maybe being a little bit more flexible during these games, as he said after that. I hope there is no problem about me saying that. He said that he got a little bit tired of finding new builds again and again, so he actually, during this tournament, he used some builds 2-3 times, and he regrets about that. So that's actually what Nefris did. He tried to work hard, he tried to learn every opponent, and this is it, he gets the win. So congratulations to Nefris, and huge respect to Tlaxtlan Soothsayer, to the most legendary player during this age of Total Warhammer 2 competitive play. I thank you all, guys, for being with us, and this was Morgengrad Show. Я увижу вас, ребят, скоро. Будут, возможно, еще какие-то видео. Честно говоря, у меня мотивации особо большой нет их создавать. Но если что-то интересное будет попадаться, буду периодически публиковать. Всем спасибо и пока. Увидимся. Движуха, давай. Вот, все, сейчас третий еще зайдет, и вообще все. Нет, стопы! Следующая жертва. Беги! О боже, я не могу на это смотреть. О боже.
бахает. Ай, ёп! Че, я по своим, значит, пошелся? Ну и правильно. Че мне вот это слишком легкий? Так, ладно. План Б. Мочи!